I have a confession to make. I slept with my therapist. I'm a 21-year-old female and I slept with my therapist, who is a 31-year-old male. It was not planned. We had run into each other at the store and decided to have coffee to talk. We got to talking, and he then asked if I would like to meet his dog. So we got to his place, and after I had played with his dog, we were just talking stories, but he was very affectionate and touchy. I didn't mind, as I am an affectionate person as well. We lay down and the next thing I know, we're making out, which of course, leads to us having sex. After it was all over we were cuddling, and he mentioned that what we did was illegal and asked me to keep it a secret. Yes, I'm smart enough not to follow someone over a dog, but I thought I could trust him because I knew him and would confide in him.
As a black woman, I know exactly what I'm doing when I call you something like sugar or baby. It always made me feel safe as a kid to hear it from my grandmothers. When I saw a meme one time mention that it makes other people feel safe too, I felt like I had a moral responsibility to contribute. I don't know if other black girls think this way, or if they just do it naturally because that's the culture lol, but I do it specifically because, in this small way I can help a stranger feel nice. I don't do it because I'm trying to flirt, or trying to talk down to you. I want you to feel like I will protect you, even if I can't or you don't need it lol.
I literally have the best friend in the world, and I can't stop crying about it. It's 5 a.m. here and I got back home from the party of my life 2 hours ago. I haven't stopped crying. I am a 25-year-old female and share an apartment with my best friend Eve, who is a 28-year-old female. We've been living together ever since I went to college. She's already a very talented and successful lawyer, and she has a great career ahead of her. She's absolutely brilliant, kind-hearted, a party animal, and makes great money, while I only work as a waitress to pay for my education. She's super generous and always pays for my meals when we go out to eat, even though I hate it when she does this, but she says that she owes me because I saved her life. We met when she was suicidal. She wishes she could do more. Our bond is unbreakable. 2 years ago I became pregnant, but the father didn't want anything to do with the baby. I didn't want to get an abortion, so I thought about dropping out of college and taking care of my child, Bianca. Eve pushed me to keep going, and I did. Ever since Bianca was born, Eve has been an absolute angel. She's the best aunt and godmother ever. Tonight there was this huge party. I told Eve to have fun, but that I'd stay home to watch Bianca. Eve refuses. She told me to go and she'd watch Bianca. I did not want to, but she wouldn't take no for an answer. So I went. And I had the time of my life. I came back at 3 a.m. and found Eve and Bianca had fallen sleeping together. My heart absolutely melted. I don't know how to thank Eve. I love her so much and I feel so bad for not being able to pay her back for everything she has done. Eve is my soulmate. Eve never wanted kids, and yet treats mine as her own. She's an atheist, and yet gladly accepted to be Bianca's godmother. This woman deserves the world.
Is this the worst job ever? We had to dance like a chicken if we did not hit our sales goal, and do push-ups if we missed one phone call. A few years ago, I took a marketing position in a UK-based company. After a brief training, I realized that I had to carry a wooden sign in a supermarket every day and stand there and promote various products. There was no specific time schedule. I could stay there as long as I wanted so long as I reached my sales goals. At the end of the day, we would all gather at the company's offices. Our manager would step in while the speakers played the song Pretty Green Eyes at maximum volume, and then the show would begin. We would ring a bell and have a cheery round of applause for everyone who reached their goals. But what about those who had almost reached them? We would form a circle and that person would stand in the middle and act like a chicken because apparently they chickened out instead of hitting their targets. Oh, and if anyone's phone rang in the middle of this show, they'd immediately have to do 10 push-ups. Takeaway: while totally unconventional, this was a company's misguided effort to evaluate and motivate employees. Even if it's well-intentioned, there are better ways. When you want to assess employee performance, start with the goals that you've set. Make sure they are challenging, but also realistic. And to motivate your staff, emphasize the positives and work together on areas of improvement. Causing fear, or even embarrassment or humiliation, will have the opposite effect.
My coworkers think that I am a Russian spy. When I was working at an embassy, I had a colleague who was convinced I was a Russian spy. We sat across from each other, so I would often catch her looking at me from behind her laptop screen. She also wouldn't let me touch the mail or go into specific areas of the embassy. She wouldn't even accept food from me. In fact, when my mother sent me cupcakes for my name day, she demanded that they be x-rayed to see if there was anything inside. Another time, a colleague asked me to make a copy of a visa applicant's ID. When she saw me in the copy room, she yelled I knew it, and kept asking me where I found that ID and what I was doing with it. She was lucky that I saw the humor in all this. I even greeted her in Russian every morning. Takeaway: you don't necessarily want or need to create a buddy culture in the workplace, but you certainly don't want to have a hostile environment. Employees should feel safe and happy at work. In fact, having friends at work boosts employee engagement, whereas toxic employees hurt morale and productivity. Keep an eye out for unprofessional behaviors and set up strict policies to prevent serious cases, e.g. harassment or violence, from occurring.
Is this the worst job ever? I was tricked into laundering money. In my very first day job, I was hired as a PA to the CEO of a medical company. I had just completed my graduate degree in communications and was thrilled to find a job in what I thought looked like a really decent company. I was also told that I would take on marketing tasks. I couldn't wait to dive in. I started off working 6 hours per day for the minimum wage, but that was okay, because I was going to be full-time in a couple of months and get a raise. Or so I thought. I never got a raise and I hardly did any marketing tasks. However, I did end up with a proper working bench, illegally boxing and shipping drugs to patients with long-term diseases. I found out later on that company was actually laundering money for a big pharmaceutical. Takeaway: while this particular company seemed to know exactly what they were doing, make sure that you're not getting into legal trouble out of ignorance. Consult a lawyer or hire an HR professional with expertise in labor legislation to ensure that your employment contracts and your company policies comply with local laws.
When the breakup is not smooth. I was working at a private school and, right before summer break, I informed the owner that I didn't want to renew my contract in September when school would be back in session. The owner was quite bitter seeing me leave, but I reassured her that I'd prepared detailed manuals for all my job duties and I'd clear up all school folders before my last day. And I did so. I also told her that she could contact me when the school opened again in case my replacement had any questions. I had no idea I would soon regret that. In September, as I expected, the owner of the school indeed called me with some questions. I had already organized everything so well that the questions were unnecessary, but I kindly replied to let her know where she could find the files she was looking for. But then the phone calls became more and more frequent. She would call me every day for the tiniest detail, and she would email me very long lists of questions she had. All of these were things that she could easily find on her own in just a few seconds, just by looking at my notes or doing a simple search on the computer. One day, I didn't pick up the phone, because I was at my new job, and she sent me a blunt text message: "Why don't you answer?" That's when I realized I should probably stop being so kind.